Welcome to Withdraw Consent. I'm Victor. This is Jack. Jack, what do you got for us today?
Okay, today I'm going to make the assertion that the corporate media in the United States is more effective and harmful to the American people than either the government propaganda of National Socialist Germany, the government propaganda of the Soviet Union, the government propaganda of the Chinese Communist Party, or even if you want to take it in today's terms, to the government propaganda by RT News in Russia today. So my point here mainly is that in the United States, we think that we have this fourth estate, this free press that holds the government accountable when they do bad things. And so because of that, we believe the things that the press says. So in all those other countries I named and their governments of the time, people knew that it was government propaganda. So they didn't believe what was told to them. For example, in National Socialist Germany, they would give you all types of propaganda, but you would know it was coming from the government. They would tell you, hey, return to traditional values, get married. If you get married, we'll give you a house with no interest. Well, you know that was propaganda, and you know they were trying to push you to do that. And so you either did it or didn't do it. And then they told you, hey, have a baby. We'll raise 25% of the loan, and then another baby, another 25%, but you know what they're doing. It's propaganda. You either go for it or you don't, but at least you know that they're doing it. But people believe that the press is free and it's holding the government accountable, not that it's working hand in hand with the government. So in order for what I'm saying, my assertion to be true, we have to show that the press is working hand in hand with the government. There's a couple of different ways you could do that. One, you could point to things like Operation Mockingbird. Are you familiar?
A little bit.
Okay. Well, we're going to have a great article on our website about it. Our website is not up yet, but you can go down the rabbit hole there very soon. But basically, it was a government program where the CIA had infiltrated journalism by embedding journalists who worked for the CIA. And it was uncovered in what was it, the church reports?
I believe so.
The church hearings? Yeah, the church hearings in 1975. And basically, they say they don't do it anymore, but they did it at one time. And if you know the United States government, they do anything to acquire power. Or you could look at things like Anderson Cooper, ex-CIA agent. Once you work for the CIA, you always work for the CIA, right? And you could look at it, but you can't actually definitively prove it from that angle. You just can't. And so the way I look at it is that you look at the fruits of what the press is doing. So it would be fair to say that the goal of the press is to criticize the government, correct?
Yes.
It's because that's the big story. You uncover the scoop of corruption and this and that. And so if you look at like overarching stories, the ones that really matter in this country, but that also involve the government interests like big pharma or big tech or the military industrial complex, you'll see like weapons of mass destruction, right? There were no weapons of mass destruction. But the press fell lockstep in line with the government to produce this agenda. And the American people said, rah, 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 because they think that the media, who is the fourth estate and is completely separate from the government, has nothing to criticize. They say, oh, this must be legitimate. You could go to lockdowns and say the same thing. You could you could think of all types of examples, I'm sure. But these overarching stories, like, for example, experimental medical procedures.
Okay.
And there was room to criticize, just to say, hey, maybe, I don't know, maybe, but the media just went full steam in the direction of the government. The government was going in the direction of big pharma because big pharma obviously provides their donations. But basically, there's just all of the big stories where you look back and you say, where was the media criticizing them at? And you'll find no criticism. And in my mind, is that fair to say that that's proof that the media is working directly to do what the government wants them to do?
Well, what about all the criticism of President Trump we had for 4 years? How does that fall into this?
Okay, that's true. And I'm not saying that they don't criticize leaders. A good example of that is when President Trump did the bombing in Syria. You remember the chemical attack? And all of a sudden everybody's on board. The press is praising him for murdering people when there was no chemical attack. We knew it at the time. I mean, you could just a brief glance at it and you would know. But the media is pushing an agenda. So the media is pushing the agenda of the system, not the president, not a congressman, not an individual. It doesn't matter what the president does or thinks because the system is doing it, correct?
Okay, so it was because Trump was not following the agenda. That's why he was criticized.
I believe so. And when he did follow the agenda, which is, say, murdering people in Syria, then the system says, oh, that's what we want to do more of. Where's our Ukraine? Where's our Afghanistan? You know? So if you look at, I think it would be a good gauge. If you agree with what I'm saying, that the media is the propaganda arm of the United States government, then you can say whatever the media is criticizing and against is against the agenda of the system.
Okay.
And anything that they promote is pro the agenda of the system. Be fair to say, right?
Yeah.
Okay. It's like when, for example, when there was a certain medical incident and the government decided that they were going to lie to the American people and they were going to say, you shouldn't wear a mask. The reason why they were doing this is because they wanted the mask for the healthcare workers. So the Surgeon General of the United States under President Trump came out and lied and said, you don't need to wear a mask, you know, but secretly they're saying Fauci came out and lied. But the media applauded them for doing that. This is Trump's regime doing the right thing, but they're not. They're just promoting the agenda of the system. So basically, in conclusion, when I say that my original assertion was that the corporate media in the United States is more effective and harmful to the American people than the actual propaganda machines of all of these different countries that have had strong government media presence, I would say that it's the fact that Americans don't know that what they're getting is propaganda. If you were to know 100% for sure that the corporate media is just giving you propaganda, it loses its teeth. It's not dangerous anymore because, you know, you look at it and you say, hey, do I like that? You know, like if you think that there's actual doctors giving you their real doctor health advice, you might be tempted to do something that you wouldn't if you said, oh, this is government propaganda. The government wants these doctors to say this. And then you could look at it with a critical eye. Pretty reasonable?
It makes sense.
Okay.
Thank you for watching today. Hope you enjoyed this episode. We appreciate your likes and subscribes. But more importantly, if you know anyone in your life who just follows the media lockstep, share this video with them. Maybe it'll help them open their eyes a little bit. Also, we appreciate your comments, especially ones that don't agree with us. If you can disprove anything that we've said today, please leave a comment. We'll pin the best one. And we hope to learn from you guys as much as you learn from us. Thanks, and we'll see you next time.